We're live. Hey guys, here we are. Welcome to the Dr. Cloud Show. Excuse me, I was gulping down. There we go. You can't hit redo, so I'm going to redo. Hey guys, welcome to the Dr. Cloud Show. It's good to have you once again. We're actually starting to do these a little more frequently. So back from our long hiatus after pandemic ended and I went back to work, but it is good to be here with you. And this is a show where you can call in and talk about your life and your questions, whatever you're going through or dealing with, or quandaries, or maybe you have a difficult person in your life, or maybe you are that difficult person. You want to call and say, I'm a difficult person and I want to be better. I get a few of those every now and then. Most of the time they're calling about the other person, but we'll see. But to do that, you got to call me. 844-940-2774 is the number to get on the air. 844-940-2774. One more time, 844-940-2774. Call me to get on the air and we will talk. Quick announcement, letting you know again, the boundaries.me platform, over 100 courses on all things about life. We're having our holiday sale for subscription, and you can find that by going to boundaries.me/plus. You know, I talk to a lot of people out there and they'll start talking about different videos or whatever. And I'll say, are you on boundaries.me? And they'll go, oh yeah. And I say, well, what'd you think about the one thing? And they go, what's that? Well, the one thing is the daily coaching videos that subscribers get and comes in every morning. And they didn't get that. And I said, well, maybe you're not a boundaries.me subscriber. And they go, well, I get your emails. And all that means is they're on our list and they get the daily kind of, postings about stuff we have going on. And they thought they were members, but there's a whole nother world out there. If you go to boundaries.me and look up that website, it'll tell you how to become a subscriber. And then you get lots of stuff and join our tribe over here. All righty. We have been, a long tradition on the show of, while calls are coming in, 844-94, I'm sorry, 844-940-2774. You'd think I'd know that number by now, but 844-940-2774 to get on the air. And as calls come in, generally what I do is I kind of talk a little bit about something, maybe some research that I've run across, or some experience I had in working with somebody, or something from my own life, or just general helpful concepts that I found helpful. And so we're going to do that here for a few minutes while you're calling. And what we entitled this one was The Power of Empathy. And I don't really know how to underestimate that, or overestimate that, or whatever. In other words, there's no way you can say too strongly how powerful empathy is, because it is it's it basically is what life is built on. Basically, if you want to get down to the deepest aspects of what empathy is about, you are wired, the baby, from when you're a baby, you're wired neurologically to have sensors. They're called mirror neurons. And even an infant knows when somebody understands them. That's what empathy is. It's basically understanding. It's the ability to understand another person's experience, but past that, for them to understand that you understand. And then we feel known and we feel understood. That changes our brains when somebody knows how we feel, when they know what we need, what hurts us, what we fear, what makes us angry, what we're afraid of losing, what helps us. You ever walked into your boss's office and the whole team's waiting to see how it goes, and you go in there and you tell them about something, and they walk out and the team goes, so how'd it go? And you go, he didn't get it. What you're usually meaning is he didn't hear me. Or a spouse comes home to a note after 10 years of marriage and it says, I can't do this anymore. And she's gone, or he's gone. And they go, how, what? And they're totally surprised. But the other person's been telling them for 5 years, but they're not hearing it. And the other person's not feeling understood or heard. It changes everything. I wrote a book called Trust, and the first pillar of trust is when we feel understood, and we have to be able to do that well, and we need it in our own lives in order to grow. Your brain actually changes, and we'll go into a little bit of that in a second, when we're empathized with. But this isn't something that's easy to learn sometimes unless you've had a lot of it done to you in your life. People that are empathized with tend to become empathic people. But when I went into training, my first year, I was working on my PhD to become a psychologist. My first year, we had a year of empathy training. Now, you might have been at your company to a listening workshop for an hour and a half. We had a year of this, learning how to listen deeply so that the other person felt like they were being understood, because what that does is it opens up their ability to experience and know themselves. It opens up their ability to trust. It opens up their ability to engage with you, to pull out more of what's in them so they can heal. But my point is, it takes time, it takes practice. And I want you to begin to practice. I want you to, when you're talking to your teenager, or you're talking to your spouse or a friend or a coworker, just listen and empathize. Take the content of what they're saying and the feelings of what they're saying and maybe the consequences of what they're saying, and just put it all into a sentence and say, gosh, it sounds like when he ghosted you, you felt like really betrayed, and that's led to now you're even afraid to start dating again. Well, yeah, and see what that does is they're nodding with you and they're going, yeah, and the conversation goes deeper. They feel heard. It's a big deal. It draws out more of the other person's. It deepens your connection to them. It gives a connection, the experience of withness. Somebody is with me. I'm not alone in it anymore. And this is what the best marriages are built on. That bubble of safety, as John Gottman calls it. That I'm in a safe place. I'm psychologically safe because this person hears me. We're wired for this from birth. All of us have mirror neurons. When somebody's listening, you can tell by the way they're attuned to you or listening, or their eye contact. You see it by them nodding, by their expressions. You hear it in tones. You see it in body language. I was talking to a person at a gathering the other night, and really nice guy. I like this guy. He's fun. He's smart, known him for a while. But as we're talking, he's, kind of like scanning the room. He wasn't with me anymore. And I don't know what had happened, if he was looking for somebody, but I said, well, I'm gonna go get some, something to drink. So I didn't sort of like that old George Thorogood song, when I drink alone, I prefer to be by myself. And if we're not being empathized with, we're by ourselves. So it is very powerful. Now, in terms of the actual power past what I've talked about, which is it deepens a connection. It makes somebody feel better. It makes them feel all of this stuff. But it also increases the brain's ability to regulate our emotions. Have you ever noticed when a toddler's upset and you're listening and they feel, they start to calm down? Well, our brain regulation internalizes the empathy of others, and that becomes a self-regulatory process that we have because somebody else has listened to us, validated us. You've often heard the big fad out there now is a lot about dealing with narcissistic people, and one of the big terms that came from that was getting gaslighted. Well, gaslighted is when you're being talked out of how you feel, or talked out of what you see, or talked out of your experience, your reality. In today's language, talked out of your truth. Well, empathy talks you back into your truth. It helps you realize what you're feeling, what you're thinking, and become more and more of yourself. It also helps in subject object differentiation. In other words, if we have poor boundaries and somebody's empathizing with us, we experience a dyad for the first time, and we know what I am and who they are, and that helps in the whole process of forming the structure of our brains. Character structures are formed sometimes from invalidation of early experience. That's where, you look at borderline personality, for example. A lot has been done in the area of emotional dysregulation in early childhood, of having their experiences not validated and empathized with, and it turns into rage states that live in their own world and pop out here and there, and a lot of stuff. So it's very important developmentally. It's very important in both the etiology and the repair of what we call character disorders, borderline personality, narcissistic personality disorder. It always makes me crazy when I hear somebody say, well, my therapist said my husband's a narcissist and, they don't change. And I go, stop it. What do you mean they don't change? We've been treating narcissistic personality disorders since the 70s. And they absolutely can change with the right kind of treatment and some other factors in place. Doesn't mean they all do, but many, many, many do. I've seen it. I've done it. I mean, but it takes empathy. Now, not only empathy, it takes a lot of other stuff like some limits and boundaries and skills building and a bunch of stuff. But it ain't ever going to happen without empathy. I promise you that. And it's just a key to life. I got to give this plug for the most empathic person that I know. His name is Jesus, and Merry Christmas. It is the Christmas season, and that is when we celebrate from, the way I look at the world, the greatest act of empathy was when God, who was not in pain and above it all, put on human flesh to come be Emmanuel, God with us, where with is empathy. And that's what Christmas is about. It's about the being with that we first of all celebrate when God came to be with us. And now we're to live out his love by being with each other in a deeply empathic connection. So a little bit on empathy there. Go practice it. Just go to the office, and when somebody's telling you a story, just empathize. So many people, you say, how's your day going? Oh yeah, I went to went to the store and I stepped on the curb and I hurt oh yeah, well, I hurt my ankle too. They're not empathizing, they're using that as a cue to start talking about themselves. Totally alone, totally dysregulated, totally ignored, and now you're feeling worse because they didn't empathize with you by going the next step and listening more deeply. They used it as a cue to start talking about their own experience. So don't do that. When somebody's talking to you, go deeper into their experience and be curious about it and draw it out, see what happens. All righty. Calls are coming in. We still have one or two lines open, I think. 844-940-2774. 844-940-2774 to get on the program. We've also been taking some write-in questions before we go to the live callers. And let me see. Here's a write-in question. Dear Henry, how do I get my wife to spend less time on her phone? She loves playing games. Any ideas? Yeah, don't pay the bill. Okay, next question. Let's see. No, I'm kidding. Of course, I would fix it, but you might not like what happens after that. Well, first thing I would do, hey, let's go back to empathy. Say, you talk to her and say, so, I see you playing games on your phone. Tell me about that. What do you like about it? hear her story. Have you ever done that? Hear why she loves it. Hear what it does for her. She might end up, yeah, well, go spend some time on this, and it's just upset about. Oh, so it helps you when you're feeling crummy. Well, yeah. Well, when did you feel crummy? What happened? Well, now we're into a deeper conversation just because we started listening. Secondly, we might find out why she does it, and we could join that. In a conflict, you can always usually find something that you can join and say, that is fun. I get it. It's like, when I want to go hit golf balls. Um, and that's great that you enjoy it. I love it. But I want to talk to you about something. Um, I want you to enjoy your phone and your games, but sometimes I miss you. And there's sometimes I want to be with you, and I don't want us to be on our phones. I want us to be with each other. Um, so can we talk about how to do that? Maybe there's a time we just say a no phone zone. Hopefully not a no fun zone, but a no phone zone. Um, are there other times that we could say, I'm gonna go do this and you go do your game time? And so once you start to hear each other, then you can try to maybe meet both of your needs. And then I'd go a step further that you may be concerned because it's causing her harm or the kids harm or somebody else harm in some way. And you might want to talk about one thing I've noticed you might want to be aware of is I see the kids sometimes get discouraged because they try to talk to you and you're on your phone. Have you noticed that? Can you watch for that? And we start with empathy and understanding, and then we try to get to how do you meet that need in a way that others don't suffer is what a good relationship does, and sort of go from there. Um, Boy, is it a big problem though. I've been, I've gotten that feedback before from my wife or kids, and we've given it each other. Sometimes in the moment, um, what you might say is, "Oh, never mind. I'll wait until you're off your phone." And then they go, "Well, no, I don't want to talk while you're on your phone. So finish your game and then we'll talk." You can actually make them aware of it by just having your own boundaries that I don't talk to people while they're on the phone. Anyway, okay, so there is a good one. Now, one exception that if they are listening to this show, speaking of phones, that was comedy. Here I am talking about not being on my phone while I'm and the phone rings. Um, Irony of ironies. Um, what I was going to say, if they're listening to this show instead of talking to you, that's okay. We'll let that one go. All right, let's go to the phones. And we are going to look here. Talk to John. Speaking of phone, he's dating somebody long distance. How do I do this right? Is there a way to date long distance and take things forward? Yeah, John, a lot of people do better when they never see each other, actually. So you may be way ahead. John, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear
I hear,
me?
yes, sir, I can.
All righty. So, long distance dating.
Yeah. Do you want to know the short story?
It's got to be very short, but I'd love to. Just tell me the
Yeah, it's
facts.
reconnected with an old friend. I won't say how that happened just to save the time. We've talked probably 11, 12 hours. Told her early on, hey, I like talking to you. I'd love to get to know you. And it's
Hold on a
going
second. I
really,
do want to know
really,
one more piece of the story. When you said reconnected with her, was that reconnection in person or was that by phone?
no, it was actually via Instagram message and then we set up a call. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And had you had some in-person time with her in your life?
Yeah. Yeah. I knew we were friends in college.
Okay. And how old are you now?
I'm 30.
Okay. So it's not eons. All right, so y'all were friends in college. You
Yeah,
hadn't seen her in what, 8 years or so. You reconnected
it's been about
and you
6, but
started,
yeah,
okay, you started talking to her and you said, what? Hey, I like talking to you. Let's
I
talk
told
more.
her,
Or
I said, hey, you're really easy to talk to. You're pretty. You seem like a godly person. Uh, yeah, would love to chat and get to know you.
so far, so good. What'd she say?
Yeah, she said she was open to it, and I've never had an easier time talking to a gal. It's been really easy. And so, anyways,
Great. So how long has this been? You said 10 hours. Is that an hour a day for 10 days, once a month for 10 months,
it's
one
like 2 hour
marathon? What?
calls, 2 hour calls every couple days, probably.
So you've been in this a couple of weeks, basically.
Yeah, about a month. And so I'm at the point where I feel whatever a next step would be, I don't know what that is necessarily. I feel prepared to make that, or at least to talk to her about it. Um, and I just want to
Have
make
you
sure I'm not being foolish.
not being what?
Not being foolish. I just want to make sure it's not a foolish thing to endeavor
There's,
upon.
there's nothing at risk yet. So, I don't see anything foolish. There's nothing at risk yet. Um, have you done any Zoom or FaceTime or anything?
Yeah, it's been all video chat.
Oh, good. So that's a little more of a connection than just audio.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So, question. I forget the old paradigm, but it starts with surface and the weather, and then it goes to what you've been up to, and then it goes to more your feelings and points of view on things, and then it goes more to more personal kind of experiences and goes deeper. What's the nature of the conversations? How deep does it go, and how vulnerable or revealing or transparent? Uh, like, what have y'all been talking about?
Yeah, I would say like it's been primarily deep, and that's what one thing that's really shocked me is how just the it's been very easy for both of us to be vulnerable about our pasts, about where we are now spiritually, um, about character things, like hopes for the future. I think part of it's because we're both in our early 30s.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah,
Is either of you ever been married?
no, never, never.
Okay. Either of you ever been in a significant longer term relationship?
I've dated gals all through my 20s. I had 1 2 year relationship. Um, I wouldn't say it was serious. We liked each other a lot, but it wasn't a good fit. She got out of a 4 year relationship about a year ago.
Oh,
And that's part of like the thing. Yeah, that's a part of what we've talked about is where is she at? How she kind of moved on from that. And it seems like she's processed it really well.
okay.
Um,
So
yeah,
where does she live?
that's that's kind of the elephant in the room. Uh, I live in northern Washington State. She lives in France.
That's a large elephant, right?
It is,
Um,
yeah.
how long how long is she gonna live in France?
So she's a French citizen, but we've kind of we've not talked about like location stuff, but we have all but talked about it. We have referred to it. Just some context. I'm in ministry, wrapping up a job in the spring, and I'm in a very open season in my life, and I love ministry, but also it sucks to be alone, and so I want to take this seriously because it feels promising. And so I guess what I'm trying to say is she doesn't feel what she has communicated to me is she is not hoping to die in France one day, if that makes sense. Um, and I'm also open geographically as well. Um,
Well,
so
if she's, I mean, she's going to live a normal lifespan. There's a lot of years between 30 and that. So, how long does she want to stay in France?
um, so more context, her families are missionaries from Brazil and they're moving back to Brazil. And so I don't think that she has like a set. I think she would be fine. She said this, she would be fine to live there for the rest of her life, but doesn't, um, she's been an expat in other countries. Like she's
Yeah.
well traveled. And so, yeah,
One of the things I've known, known a lot of missionaries over the years is they can they can go on. A lot of them go anytime, anywhere, and land on their feet and be fine. Um,
yeah.
so throwing reason out the window, what do you want to do?
I want to see her in person and see if this is something we can put into effort and make work. If assuming like the consistency of character and like compatibility remains what it is right now, at least. Um,
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
you understand that there is there's almost no way that you can really know somebody's, character compatibility over 10 hours of phone calls. I mean, you know that, right?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So what you've got, have you ever bought a house?
No.
All right. Well, when you buy a house, what you do is you look at it and you go, oh, I like that house. And you go into it and you spend less than 10 hours. You walk around it and oh, this would be great to hang out in this house, experience this, live in this house, and it looks great. And you go, I think might want to buy this house. And so you make an offer, and then they say, okay, let's do this. And then it goes into this period, and a lot of states call it escrow or under contract. It's not closed yet. The deal isn't closed yet, but a bunch of contingencies start to come up in the scenario, and those have to be checked off.
Mm.
And so there's an inspection on the foundation where you look behind the walls, see if there's any termites. You look under the foundation, see if there's any leaks. In other words, past what you can see and experience on a walkthrough, you're getting into the wiring and the foundation and the roof and are there leaks and all this kind of stuff to where you really know what you're talking about, the character of the house. Now, character is more than lying, cheating, and stealing. It's also how they're glued together, their emotional regulation. Well, how's the heating and air conditioning system in that house? When they're down, can they warm themselves up? When they're too hot, can they cool themselves down? Do they make good
Yep.
judgment on when to open the door and not? I mean, we could take this metaphor forever, right? So, but to do that, you got to have an inspection, and that takes time. All right.
Yeah.
So, one thing when you said foolish, I don't hear you do anything foolish so far. I love it. But one thing that would be foolish, I think, is to and first of all, if have you ever read my book, How to Get a Date Worth Keeping?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, so you know how I talk about if it I like for people to be dating a lot of people until somebody stands out in the crowd, right? It's easy to stand
Hmm.
out in the crowd of one. And so I would hate to see you all of a sudden go exclusive, but not be, you know, having lunches with me or going out on dates or this, that, because you guys haven't made any exclusive, bets yet. But what I would want you to do is to have some sort of experience, being able to do some inspections and do some things together. And, um, that's going to require y'all go land in the same place for a week or a few days or long weekend or something like that and have some of those experiences before you know I mean, look, there are exceptions to every rule. People meet each other and get married very quickly and stay married 50 years. That is the exception rather than the
Yeah.
rule. So I would think of what kind of experiences you want to have with her before you decide to really go exclusive. And that's when you begin to invest more than in time and brain damage it takes to, to get together when you live on different continents. But hey, I
Yeah.
love it. I mean, if you go about it wisely, I love it. Does that help?
Yeah, it helps a lot. I mean, it more or less confirms what I was feeling, which is I need to, in order to make a real informed, like, are we going to go steady, so to speak? Uh, I need to see her in person and maybe have some more frank conversations than I would at this stage with a woman in my city or even in my country, to be honest.
Yeah, maybe, you say, look, we're kind of talking about really dating. We hadn't been spent that much time together, so we both got to be wary of that. And we need permission to even ask some questions you might not even ask this early so far. But what we really need together is we need some different kinds of experiences. And so the other thing I would add in is I want some other eyeballs on this. So I want when she comes to
Yeah.
visit you, I want your friends or family or other people to be able to have time with her and you vice versa on her side because I like to see people. A lot of times people are good one on one, but you get them to other contexts, and all of a sudden they find out I was there the whole time and they didn't even talk to me because they're too attached to their mother's hip or something. And you just need to experience
Yeah.
a lot of different contexts with her. So only time can do that. So does that help?
Yeah, it helps a lot. Thank you very much.
Okay. Good luck. Call me back
Thank you.
and
Will
let
do.
me know what happens. Let me know what happens. All righty. A couple of comments on that. Uh, long distance stuff is tough enough. But the more um, you can support long distance, this is even in remote work, I think, the more you can intersperse that with real real time. Um, Virtual time is much richer when it's built on real time foundations or interspersed experiences. Um, so, especially in dating, I am, I can't tell you how strongly I feel about people getting exclusive and or married too quickly. Yeah, I don't think it ought to take 10 years, but it should take more than a month too. Well, you just don't know that person at all. Okay. Let's go to Sally, who's calling us from Arizona. Um, Sally cheated on her husband 4 years ago, and I don't think he trusts me, but now he's leading a life with friends that I'm not included in. It feels like he has a private life. This boundary is created, seems like it was made as punishment. What can I do? Wow. Okay. Sally, welcome to the program.
Hear me?
I got you. Are you there? Did we lose
Can you hear
Sally?
me?
Now I can hear you. Are you there?
Okay, I'm so sorry. Yes, I'm on a headset and I'm an idiot. So,
I'm gonna let that one go. All right. So Sally, um, there's a lot of when I read your call, there's a lot of really good things in here. You sounds like you owned what you did. You came back. You want to make it better. Is that right?
Mhm. Correct. Yep.
Well, tell me, if you can tell me in a sentence or two, was you said you cheated on your husband with, um, was that on a girls' weekend to Vegas one night, or did you have a
No, it was an affair.
emotional
So we've been
real
married.
affair?
No, it was we've been married 19 years and I cheated on him 4 years ago, for about 2.5 years from a guy from work. And he,
Oh, so it was a real deal.
ex- yeah, it was, yeah.
And where's that guy now?
He's in a different office because I had to leave my job. because of it, which I was glad to do. Like I did own up for everything, which doesn't make it okay at all. And I know nothing that I do is going to make it okay ever. Sorry, but
Well, you know what? I would interrupt you on that. I don't believe that. I don't believe that it can't be made okay ever. And that's not theory. The reason I don't believe that is because I have seen it be made okay in many situations. So I don't want you saying that. Now it that takes two and it takes work, but I do believe it can be made okay. It can. It's just a fact.
Okay.
It's not always happening, but I don't want you to give up hope on that.
thank you.
So did you confess this or did you get caught?
I got caught.
Okay. And then when you did y'all separate?
We did not. No.
So he took you back in immediately. Did y'all, what did you do to work on it, to repair it?
uh, not much. Basically, he put me on, phone 360, followed my whereabouts everywhere, and I just kind of like was, hey, I'm not doing anything. You can see wherever I'm going at any time. This is the bank account. This is everything, but
Okay.
nothing as far as therapy.
Okay. Well, I would say, and if we use the word therapy, what does that mean? It means healing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of different ways we do healing, and some is with a professional, some is with, other people helping us and friends and mentors and a group, and but there has to be some therapy in this scenario. Now, what he's got, you said you don't feel like he trusts you. What he's got is he's got factual confirmation that you're not cheating on him. What he doesn't have is he doesn't have heart validation, apparently, in healing of what it did to him. And as a result, from the way you describe it, it sounds like to me, when you say he's created a whole life over here, that he's built some walls, and those are in space and activities. He's keeping himself separate from you, right?
Correct.
Okay, so I would see those as symbols of those are walls between you and him in space and time, but they represent a wall that's on his heart right now.
Yeah.
And that wall is full of hurt and questions and a bunch of stuff. So what I would suggest, I'm going to give you, I wrote a book called Trust. The subtitle is When to Give It, When to Withhold It, How to Earn It, and How to Repair It when it gets broken. Now, in that scenario, I hear all four of those being key components for you guys.
Okay.
He needs to know when he can give trust again, when he can trust you again. Right now, apparently he doesn't know that. And I think there's some good psychological reasons for that, not factual.
Sure.
Also, he needs to know when he should withhold it, because right now it sounds like he may be withholding it when he doesn't need to. Okay. Thirdly, how do you earn it? Now, these are some activities that you could focus on that would help to bring him around. And fourthly, how do you repair it? So what I would want you guys to do is I want you to get with somebody who knows what they're doing, hopefully a good marriage counselor. And a few things here, and obviously you can't read you the whole book, but it's based on some pillars. One is y'all got to go through a process where he understands that you really understand what this did to him. And that means, what's that?
No, I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah. And he hasn't done that. He hadn't really opened up enough to know that you get it. I think you at least seem like you've gone some parts in getting it. You really kind of get it that you've heard him. But he needs to get it that you get it. And that takes some conversation around him opening up about what this felt like to him and what it did to him, and you hearing that. Secondly, I think that you guys need to talk about what it would feel like for him to experience that you're really for their relationship. And if somebody has an affair, that's a betrayal, and they acted just for themselves, right? And he's got to get back to a feeling where you've got his back even when he's not present. And talk about what makes him feel that way, what behaviors, what kind of things makes him feel like you're on his side when, he doesn't have to be guarded. And thirdly, just the abilities that would make him depend on, you showing that you've developed the skills and abilities to have and keep a connection. And then fourthly, what he needs to see in your makeup, the whatever makes him begin to lean into you, your character makeup. Now, I don't mean just lying, cheating, and stealing. He's policing that. But more than that, what touches him? Is it your compassion? Is it your kindness? Is it your patience? What gets to melt? We got to melt that heart. And that takes conversations around these elements. And then fifthly, to develop a new track record of those four things. And I would want y'all, seriously, I think it'd be great to go through the book and just look at what it says about how to repair. There's several marriage scenarios in there just like yours. But it's
Can I do
gonna,
that on my own?
well, I think you might do well to read it on your own and just start to, you can figure out what you can verbalize or at least act on. But I really want
Yeah.
y'all to get together with someone who can metabolize it with you. Okay? That'd be my suggestion. Okay?
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
And Sally, thank you for your commitment to your marriage and trying to do your best to put this back together. And I hope that this kind of path
My
can become
commitment.
a healing one. What's that?
I don't know.
I couldn't quite
I don't
understand
feel
you.
like. No, it was just. I just find it funny that, my commitment to my marriage when I didn't. Where was I 4 years ago to not do this? Oh, I don't know. I'm sorry.
Where were you? Where were you? You made a big mistake,
Yeah.
and that was bad. It's bad consequences.
Yeah.
But as Jesus said to someone caught in your scenario 4 years ago, let him who's without sin cast the first stone, and you're forgiven. And that's in the past. Now we're going to talk about building a better future. And I hope he can do that. It's going to take some work to do that, but I think it can be done. So,
Thank you.
all righty. I'll talk to you some other day.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. I would I just share that encouragement with you that I share with her. If you read the book, Trust, you'll see some case studies in there of people that did this well. And it does happen. And so maybe you're in that boat and you want to hopefully put it back together. I mean, there's reasons to put it back together a lot of times, really good reasons. Sometimes it means not splitting a family and a bunch of other things. But anyway, take a look at the book. It's called Trust. And it'll have all that in there. Okay, let's see where we are. Looking at the calls here. Let's go to Ginger, who's calling us from North Carolina. Let me get the number out again in case we have lines open. Try it, 844-940-2774. 844-940-2774 is the number to get on the air. And we're going to talk to Ginger. Ginger wants to know how to get past the deep grief with her sister who died. She lost her sister and then got rejected by her sister and her mom. That's brutal. Ginger, welcome to the show.
Hey, Dr. Cloud, how are you?
I'm good. Sounds like you've been through some stuff.
Yes, sir, I have. And you've walked a long way with me in your books and your show, but now I'm getting to the point where I'm hopeless. And I am a believer. I've prayed through this. I've had 6 years of counseling. And the worst part became about 6 years ago. And it's just that someone, I don't even want to go into the names, but someone in my family was telling awful lies and rumors. And basically, the only one that didn't believe them was my dad. So I think it was last year, my sister died in the summer. And right before she died, after many years of just trying to be the peacemaker, I got an awful letter about how much she's always hated me and terrible aspersions on my character. And I just can't get that out of my soul. It's what she left me with. And then my dad just died 2 weeks ago, and he was like my hero. And so I'm stuck again, like it all came up further up into my spirit, and I don't know what to do. I don't know if the counselors have any more answers. They've been great, so I know you can.
Say that again, the last part.
I just said I don't know if the counselors can give me more advice because they're wonderful, but they've been great. But I know you can because you always find a way to help me move on.
Oh, well, I want to ask you a few questions first.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
How old are you?
I am 64.
64. Okay, and your sister, was this a bigger sister or a younger sister?
Right. She would be 68 right now.
Okay, and no other brothers or sisters?
Yes, sir. I have two. One is in heaven, and he was wonderful and always understood these dynamics and kind of warned me before I got to that part. And one, I'm glad you brought him up. He's my little brother, and he's taken on that role of the angriness and was really not very nice at the funeral and doesn't want anything to do with me because of all that. So the loss is just huge. I don't even know what to do, and I'm trying to live for my family and my grandchildren. So I've got to let go somehow.
Your brother was really good, but this is another brother that turned back. The good one died.
Exactly.
That one's still
exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Good night. All the good people keep dying.
I know. It's kind of crazy.
Oh, okay. So one of the reasons I ask you that, you're in your 60s, and certainly our families are important to us, but that's a lot of years also for your family to be your sort of primary, let's call it, system of people that have all the power in your life. Is that true, or do you have a community of friends that are your spiritual family as well?
My husband's wonderful. My husband and my daughter are extremely wonderful, and I have friends at church, but because that made me very sick to go through that for so long, I haven't been able to bond with people at church as much as I want to. So that's probably a missing.
All right. Yeah, when you said, maybe I could help point out a way, that'd be the first way. I think absolutely you got to do it. And there's a couple of reasons for that. When I've family is really, really important, right? It's extremely important. It's the most important thing. God created a family. That's why we're here. But we have a biological family, and then you come from a faith perspective on this, and what the Bible teaches is that there's supposed to be a move not to not love and be connected to our family, but to enlarge that family to a spiritual family that provides everything that a family was supposed to provide when we were little. But when we get to be adults, that should be our primary source, where we're rooted and grounded, as the New Testament said. One day they said to Jesus, your mother and your brother or sisters are waiting outside for you. And he said, who are my mother and brother and sisters? But those who do the things
I
that
will.
God desires.
That's
So
right.
you've got to really, the way you're going to metabolize this pain is by having the support and healing and connectedness and all of that of some really good people around you that can help you to process this stuff. Just like when a kid goes onto the schoolyard and gets bullied and they run home to mom and dad and their siblings,
Mm-hmm.
and you sit around and you process that and you heal them and you send them back out there. When you get to be an adult, it flips. And now, it's your community. So
Right.
that's number one. That's number one.
Okay.
Number
Mm-hmm.
two, um, you know, they've taken these attacks and they put them into you, right?
Yes, sir.
And they've gone into you. Well, that can connect with sometimes some critical voices in our own head that join those voices, and now it's us against
Mm-hmm.
us as well as their voices against us. And
Mm-hmm.
the devil loves to use accusing voices, right?
Right.
And
Right.
so, first of all, I believe in prayer against those things and getting prayed
Mm-hmm.
for about all that. But also, you got to do some work to get those voices out of your head. So I'd want you
Mm-hmm.
sitting around and blaming appropriately. You got to forgive these people ultimately to get free of this.
Mm-hmm.
But there's no such thing as forgiveness without blame.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
How the heck would you forgive somebody if you never said they did something bad?
Right. And I think
So,
I don't do that because of the thinking Jesus wouldn't want me to. So you just turned that around for me.
why didn't you think Jesus wanted you to call a betrayal a betrayal?
I feel like he was so kind and just loved everybody equally, no matter what they did. So that's errant on my part.
Well, he did love them, but he called a betrayal a
Yeah.
betrayal, a lie a lie.
Mm. Mhm.
God's pretty clear
Mhm.
about that.
Mhm.
Somebody ticks him
Mhm.
off, he lets them know, and then he forgives
Mhm.
them. But look,
Mhm.
until you name somebody's offense, you say, that was wrong what she did to me. That was wrong when they lied about me. That was wrong, and
Mhm.
that's bad. And you have other people agreeing with you and saying, that's terrible. What that does is
Mhm.
it reverses all of that blame back towards you out to where it belongs on the outside. And that helps get it out of your head, especially when other people
Wow.
validate it for you. So part of why you
Mhm.
can't get rid of this fish hook, you try to pull the fish hook out, there's a barb that keeps it in there. And that's because the
Mm.
grief and the loss can't come out because it keeps getting stuck because the blame's got to go out too.
Wow. That is
So
huge.
once you name a sin, you can
Mhm.
forgive us. It's hard to forgive
Mhm.
something without naming it. And that
Mhm.
may be part of kind of
Mhm.
where you're stuck. So I would go do those couple of things and
Mhm.
see if that helps and call
Mm.
me back. Let me know.
Okay. Is the blame need to do it with a counselor or just sit down maybe with my husband and name it?
I'm so glad you have a supportive husband. Certainly, I want you to do it with him, but I think you got to expand
Uh,
that circle a little bit.
okay.
Humans were not made for uh, for one person to meet all of our needs.
Okay. Mhm.
The
You're right.
only
Mhm.
human, the only human that only has one person meeting all their needs is an infant, and they only do
Okay.
that for about
Okay.
a year. They only do that for
Right.
about a year.
Right.
And then they start to expand the circle. See, we were made for groups, and specifically, the closest would be a triad. Think God doesn't exist in a dyad, he exists in a
Mhm.
triad. The Father, the Son, and the
Mhm.
Spirit relationship.
Mhm.
And then that
Mhm.
triad expands to a larger group.
Mhm.
Certainly, and I feel like I'm giving a Sunday school lesson here. For those of you who aren't into that, forgive me, but if you look at Jesus's life, he had a large group that he was part of an industry. He's kind of in the carpentry
Mhm.
industry and the religious industry, and he worked in that industry, and he'd go to industry gatherings. And then also
Mhm.
he had a smaller group of, call it his followers, hundreds, handful,
Mhm.
whatever. And then within that, there
Mhm.
were about 18 or 20 people that we see their names talked about more. right? And
Mhm.
those are people might come to his birthday party, right? Or Christmas
Mm-hmm.
party, I guess. And then
Mm-hmm.
within that, there were 12, which was his small group. And then within the 12, there were three that he was closer to, Peter, James, and John. And within three, there was one, John. And so
Yeah, yeah, good.
our lives should mirror that. And right
Okay.
now, I love it that tell your husband, I said, way to go, being a good husband.
I will.
But I want some friends that I can get on the phone with here and say, way to go, friends, because you've helped her too. So I want you to do all that. All right.
Thank you. Thank
I
you,
got
Dr. Cloud. Have a Merry Christmas.
you have a Merry Christmas too.
Thank you.
Oh gosh. Lots and lots and lots of pain out there. How are we doing on the podcast? Oh my gosh, how the hour flies by. We started talking about empathy this morning. Or earlier in the show, and it's interesting. The callers we talked to today, John's got a long distance dating relationship. The more he listens and empathizes with her as he gets to know her, one of my favorite verses in Proverbs, it says that a person's intentions, their motives, the deepest parts of their heart are like deep waters. And the wise person draws them out. And how do you draw those out and learn more about somebody? Through empathy. We heard from Sally, cheated on her husband. Her husband's walled his heart off. Well, how's that wall going to melt down? Because he's got to open up. She's got to empathize with the pain. It's one thing when we say, I'm sorry, and gosh, I screwed up and I've done a bad thing, and which is important, she's done. But until it shifts to, and I see what it did to you, and I understand and hear what it did to you, and we're hearing that, that's when it goes to the next level. And poor Ginger, she's never been heard, by a band of sisters and brothers who can help draw that pain out of her and heal it. So I told you guys I was not kidding when I said empathy is a big deal. And so we need to be treating it as such. All right. Well, that's it for today. One more reminder, go to boundaries.me plus. Go to that website, boundaries.me/plus. And you'll be able to get our entire platform, all of the courses and live events and everything for under half price on a holiday sale. So there you go. All righty, guys. We're going to do this show as much as we are able. I doubt, let me see, how do I pull this up here? I doubt we're going to do a show tomorrow. But we will do, and I might surprise you. I might, you might get an email or I go live. Follow us on Instagram, Dr. Henry Cloud Official on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook. And if we're able to do it, I'll hop on there hopefully and tell you about it before we do. But for certain, we'll do something next week. So keep us close and we'll do the same for you. God bless. See you next time.